joining us here in BlockShow Asia in Singapore.
I am delighted to be here, Stephen. I came to find out what's going on.
I'm actually here to speak with you, to find out what's going on with you. And before we dive into the norms, right? The norm of how you feel about China, the norm about what's happening with the governments, agriculture. How are the kids?
My kids are great. I'm always astonished that they're my kids. They're turning into such stars. You know, couldn't be my kids, but they're fabulous.
Well, you're a star in your own right, we know this. What I was curious about is, did having children, did that affect the way that you looked at digital currency in the future? Did you look at the way they would grow up on blockchain, on Bitcoin, blockchain, and or cryptocurrency, technology, and actual finance?
Well, I was always against children my whole life. I was very, how could people be so foolish as to have children? I was wrong. I was totally wrong about that. It's fabulous. But no, it didn't change my view about blockchain or cryptocurrencies, and they're two entirely different things, as you well know. Blockchain is going to change everything we know. It's a phenomenal future. Electricity changed everything we know, put a lot of people out of business. Blockchain is going to put a lot of people out of business, but it's great for the world. But cryptocurrencies are all going to go to zero. They're all going to disappear.
Including Bitcoin? Including
everything. Wow. When I said all, I meant...
You meant the kit and caboodle.
Everything. Conceivably, there will be government crypto. We know that money is going to be on the computer, on the internet in the future. No question about that. Absolutely. I was in China recently and I tried to buy an ice cream. I couldn't buy an ice cream because I had money.
You needed an Apple Watch or a mobile device.
She didn't take money. Poor woman finally gave me the ice cream. She felt so sorry for me. All I had was money. I had Chinese money, but I wish I'd been buying a Mercedes or something. She might have given it to me. But no, money is going to disappear, and it's going to be on the internet, but it's going to be government money. It's not going to be anybody else's money.
So the government we'll have to pay our taxes. We'll have to engage. What are the other triggers, do you feel, for the government to recognize, and main governments to recognize Bitcoin and or cryptocurrency?
Well, as I've said, money is already disappearing in China and in many countries. China's far ahead of the US, for instance, already, and other countries too. There is money, but it's, you know, the government has the guns. Everybody in the crypto business tells me, we're smarter than the government. They are, Stephen. All of you are smarter than the government, but the government has the guns. And throughout history, the government does not lose control. They will come after you.
If you try to print it on the wrong paper, you will get arrested.
They will always take over eventually if cryptocurrencies get traction. So, while I'm extremely optimistic about blockchain, and I'm extremely optimistic about the changes of money to the internet, which I know is happening, it's not going to be cryptocurrencies because the governments are not going to let it happen.
Allow that. How do you feel about agriculture, blockchain? I hear you speak a lot that agriculture is an opportunity because of where it's been in the past, and it's false.
Stephen, I will say again, blockchain has a brilliant, exciting future for everything. Including agriculture. It doesn't matter what it is, the blockchain is going to change everything we know and everything we think we know, including agriculture. Yes, if you can tell me a way to invest in blockchain for agriculture, please don't say it. Tell me quietly. Later, I want to find it myself. I know everything. It doesn't matter. Carpets, chairs, agriculture, everything.
What excites you? Is there anything that just personally excites you, not motivates you to actually move on it, but excites you, that would have to do with blockchain? Because I hear you say everything.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to invest in blockchain. Doesn't do me any good to buy IBM because of blockchain. I mean, so what? Or Alibaba because of blockchain, so what? I'm trying to find the small, medium company that's got where blockchain will have a gigantic effect.
And it has to be a public company.
For me, it has to be a public company. So I'm looking. I wish I could. That excites me a great deal. It's one of the most exciting things happening in the world today. But I don't know a way to invest in a public company.
Well, we'll see if we can change that for you.
If you find one, let me know.
Absolutely. The next thing is, how do you feel about China's influence in Africa right now?
Oh my gosh. You go to Africa now, the Chinese are everywhere. The Chinese nearly every year or two have a major conference in China, and all the heads of African countries show up.
Right.
I mean, I think only one American president, well, American presidents, if they know where Africa is, only go to 3 or 4 countries every once in a while, whereas China takes them all to China every year or two, and the heads of China go to African countries all the time. They go to Africa, they invest huge amounts of money, and they leave the Africans alone. Unfortunately, we as America, if we go to Africa and we say, you do what we say. Right. The Chinese say, here's the money, now leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone.
Here's your solar, right. Here's your farm, right.
Whatever, here's your new railroad, whatever it is. So no, I mean, I'm optimistic about the future of Africa, but you say as China in Africa. Exactly. The Chinese are going to own Africa eventually.
I think that they're well on their way to doing so with the footprint that they have inside there.
And in 20 years, Washington's going to look around and say, how'd this happen? We used to own it. We used to think we owned Africa. Exactly. What's happened here? Because the Chinese are going to have it all.
Okay. So if you had, we'll just make this quick. If you had to give one piece of advice on the most successful time in your life, what would that philosophy look like?
Well, I have to temper it because I have these 2 little girls now, and those are they're my greatest success right now.
Pre-nuclear explosion.
Well, it was back when I didn't have any money, and I didn't like being poor, and I loved what I was doing. So I loved investing. I loved the financial markets, and I spent as much time as I could. I mean, it wasn't work for me.
It was what
I just loved it. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning so I could get to work.
Absolutely.
But as I said, it wasn't work. And if people can find, and I tell students, everybody, if you can find something like that, that you love so much that you don't care, then you're going to be successful. Absolutely. And even if you're not successful, you don't care because you're so happy. Okay. You're so happy doing it. So that was, but I've had, I mean, going around the world. I drove around the world twice, Stephen.
Oh, I saw that Mercedes that little yellow buggy with the tires that are the size. What size were those tires?
Big.
They were bigger than the car. Yeah. If you stack 2 of them, they were.
It's here at a museum. You can go see it if you want to.
I can't wait to. I love that. I love the story. Twice.
Once I went around there once on a motorcycle, but that was exhilarating. Right. That was unbelievably exciting.
Just tell me about if we could walk out of here right now and relive one moment of you and the trip that you had on the motorcycle, what would that moment be?
Startlingly enough, the thing that first came to mind was when I was held hostage in Africa for 9 days in the Congo. I don't know why that came to mind first.
Well, maybe because if you had crypto, we could have solved that real quick. It would have been down to 2 days, maybe.
Well, I don't know. They were trying to get money. They just assumed because we were Americans and we had these big motorcycles, we must be rich. Finally, they realized they couldn't get any more money out of us. But that was a very exhilarating time. It's fun. I wonder why that came.
What went through your mind in not day 5? What were you thinking by day 5?
Days. Well,
no, by day 5, like at day 5, something had to settle in.
I'm getting tired of this. How do we get out of here? How do we convince these guys that we don't have any money?
Did you ever think about taking action?
Well, what action? It was the police. What am I going to do? I don't have any guns, and even if I'd had guns, what am I going to do? Say, stick them up? To the police. They had more guns than I did, and they were better at it than I was.
Oh, man.
So no, I was just trying to figure out, how do we convince these, they searched everything over and over again. How do I convince these guys that we're not going to give them any more money?
Any more money?
Well, I gave them $10 or whatever I had. Yeah, it was not enough to break the bank or to make them rich. No.
So I know that's not where we're going to walk out of here right now and relive. So what would be the other moment if you had to? I know that popped right inside your mind. You thought about that moment. And that's a.
Well, the other moment that popped into my mind was getting back, which was exhilarating, but knowing that I had to do this again. Had to go around the world again. This was not enough. It was 2 years around the world, Guinness Book of Records and all that, but who cares?
Right.
But getting home and saying, okay, now I got to do it again.
What did you feel you missed? What was missing? If you got
It was only 2 years. I knew there were many countries, many places I had not been.
It wasn't enough.
That I wanted to see. I wanted to see more of Africa, for instance. I wanted to see more of a lot of places. And I knew I had to go again.
What do you think from that trip, with money, what could you solve out of all the problems that you saw out there? What are the top problems that you think that you could solve with money alone?
Well, how much money? I mean, you know.
Well, let's just say
there are things.
$50 million. What could you have solved with $50 million in your trips around the world?
Well, what I have learned is if you give money to bureaucrats, they're going to take care of themselves first.
Right.
For instance, I give money to education, but I have learned if you give it to the administration, they'll all be very pleased for a while. So I don't. I give it to students directly, one way or the other. And likewise, I have learned giving money to, I can remember once having a conversation with a, what do they call NGO, a charity. And the woman was furious because I thought there were better ways to give money than to her.
Right.
So I have learned, I mean, with a little bit of money, you could take care of blindness. Much blindness in some places is easy to solve. It doesn't take much money to get rid of, what's it called, glaucoma and things like that.
Okay.
So with not much money and cleft palates.
You saw this as a suffering scenario that money could take it.
You could solve, you could change the life of many kids with cleft palates, for instance, with not a lot of money.
Right.
So with $50 million, you could take care of a lot of blindness, you could take care of a lot of cleft palates, you could take care of a lot of things. But that's where you change the lives of individuals. Now, $50 million, we could go into country X and say, oh, we have these programs.
Right.
Please don't do it.
Okay.
Please go and find 50 million kids, because you could do so much.
That's a great piece
for so
of
many,
advice.
for so many. Just buy books.
Right.
I bought a lot of books for schools in the countryside.
You visited a lot of schools in your trips.
I always tried to go to schools whenever I could. So if I had $50 million, I would do something for kids, scholarships for kids to go to schools they couldn't go to otherwise. Not just kids, there are many adults who have blindness that could be easily solved. Cleft palates, other things like that that could be easily solved.
Do you think there's room in the world for a currency that just solves those smaller problems in the world?
No.
No?
Well, if you know, well, they'll take US dollars. You go and give the doctor US dollars, he'll take them. I assure you, you say to the doctor, take care of that kid's cleft palate, here's US dollar, he'll do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for
My pleasure, Stephen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.